After a wild race, and a race where no one seemed to have an advantage at the Talladega Super Speedway, we're back on the regular speedway, but this time one of the tightest speedways in the country. This is the Monster Mile, my home racetrack for the Mr. Goodbar 400 in the 2023 Wawa Cup Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to Dover, Delaware, the first state. We are here for the 12th race of the season in the 2023 Wawa Cup Series. This is essentially Wawa's home race. As I mentioned, I think in the Sprint Series signups for this race a week and a half ago, the home of Wawa, just about an hour north of here in Wawa, Pennsylvania, in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. But we're in the state of Delaware here today, and the Dover Motor Speedway, and I got some great guys alongside me to call this one. Two owners who own pretty solid teams. Of course, Pacific Racing, owned by Brennan Wilmington. You guys are top of the point standings. And then Titan Fury, your team, Igor, also doing a really good job this season. I'll start with you, Brennan. Your guys have done an excellent job. Won 3 races so far this season, but as you mentioned just before we started, you guys have won on racetracks a mile or shorter so far this season. This is a mile-long racetrack. You see Thomas Troxel starting up front. What chances do you give him getting his 3rd win of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series?
Odds are pretty good for Troxel starting up front at this kind of racetrack. This seems to be our kind of wheelhouse in terms of our speed this year, because all 3 of our wins have happened here. I don't think he's going to run away with this one, though. He's going to have some challengers behind. There's some pretty good drivers behind him that could definitely take the fight to him.
It's going to be interesting to see what the drivers behind Troxel can do in this race. The unfortunate thing for you, Igor, though, is your 2 drivers, LJ Semedo and Drew Webb, start 27th and 30th, respectively. This is LJ Semedo's home racetrack, and he is tied for that cutoff right there in the chase. We got 9 races left to go. But for LJ Semedo and Drew Webb, what do they need to do to work their way up to the front in these 100 laps here at Dover?
Well, for them to get to the front, it's mostly getting on the inside line and getting the passes done. Also managing the tire wear, that's very important in Dover. It's the track that simply kills tires, so if they can conserve their tires, they probably can move up front and get some of the position in this race.
It's going to be interesting to see how that tire wear does, in fact, play out. And like I mentioned on Wednesday, I've been on this racetrack in real life, and I can definitely see why. The tire wear is very significant here. The fall-off's going to be about 2.5 seconds. Very similar to Rockingham. It's actually going to play out quite like Rockingham, even though we race a little bit differently here than we do at the Rock, but that might very well favor Thomas Troxel there in the 62. The only thing for Troxel, though, he kind of had a bit of a tough race at Talladega. Didn't wreck out, but did finish deep in the field and lost the points lead. Matt Tuck is now the new points leader. He is 56 points ahead of the cutoff coming into this race. He's got a full race on that cutoff, but Thomas Troxel now only 43 points ahead of the cutoff. Chase Buck is 35 points ahead. Nicholas Samedeo 28 points ahead, and Allier 27 points ahead, with Dylan Matthews 19 points ahead. Those 6 guys have really kind of pulled away from the field, and then behind them, it's really tight around that cutoff. Ludovic Charette, 7th in points, starts 3rd here today. He's 6 points ahead. Brad Stover is 4 points ahead. Echo Evans Ross 1 point ahead. And then we got that tie between Tanner Parton and LJ Semedo there for the cutoff. Parton does hold the tiebreaker with the best average finishing positions, and no wins between either of those 2 drivers. Drew Webb is 2 points behind the cutoff. Braden Perez 7 points behind the cutoff. Seth Cole 11 points behind. And Laura Chung 13 points behind the cutoff. And then you see the wild card there. And with Rogel Dorn winning last week at Talladega for Full Frontal Motorsports, he's now a part of that wild card race, but also in that race, Braden Perez fell outside the top 10. So now we got 4 guys in that wild card race as of now, but still 9 races left to go, including this one until we get to the cutoff at Nashville, another concrete racetrack, in the end of June. Starting on the pole, though, like we mentioned, it's Thomas Troxel in the number 62. Great run for him in qualifying. He's the first driver this season to win multiple poles here in the Wawa Cup Series. He's alongside Chris Reynolds there for Nathan Orman Motorsports. Ludovic Surrett has been outperforming this car in this number 61, and a great opportunity for him to move up even further up in the point standings. Nicholas Samedeo trying to rebound after his tough run at Talladega. Our last winner, the winner of the Talladega race in the Mountain Dew 500, Rogel Dorn to the inside of Matt Tuck, who is the points leader coming into this race. 2-time winner this season, Ali Yera to the inside to the 13 of Brian Webb, and then Logan Williams trying to get a good run there as his teammate has had a lot of great runs this season alongside Echo Evans Ross there in row number 5. We'll go ahead and get these guys to roll off. Roy Ribbleton led every lap in the Sprint Series race. He's going to be starting in the 13th position. Sam and Oskin also advanced on with Avery Alford and Jacob Walker. Those are going to be the 40 drivers there that make up this Mr. Goodbar 400 field. Well, Brennan and then Agar, who do you guys think going to win here today in this Mr. Goodbar 400 at the Monster Mile?
Well, I'm not going to pick my own driver because I don't want to accidentally jinx him and I don't want to seem biased. But so I'm going to pick the car behind Thomas Troxel. Ludovic Charette, like you mentioned, Charette made up a lot of spots in the points last week. I think Ludovic Charette keeps the momentum going and he gets the win here in Dover.
Well, Miranda, you decided to not jinx. I'm going to bet on Troxel. I think Troxel has been really good on the 1 mile track or short. And I think your team is probably going to take this home.
It's going to be Pacific Racing's 4th win if they can pull it off, and Troxel's 3rd. And Thomas Troxel would love to get that pulling seat back away. But Matt Tuck, Nicholas Samadeo, they're starting up front as well. Those 3 guys had a great battle at Martinsville. They may do it again here today in the first state. It's the Dover Motor Speedway in the Monster Mile, and we're green flag racing in the Mr. Goodbar 400. And these guys gingerly getting around this racetrack. Thomas Troxel in the 62 getting the advantage there at the start. Ludovic Charette will be able to hold on to 2nd, and Rogel Dorn holding on there to that 3rd position. We're going to have about a 60-lap fuel run, so it will be a one-stop race for these guys. We'll definitely see that tire wear really come into effect as this race goes along. Allier to the inside of Chris Reynolds. This guy's in the outside lane. We saw this in the Sprint Series race on Wednesday. They did not get the advantage. Sam Badillo and Matt Tuck falling behind. Sam Badillo going to finally find his way to the inside lane, but Matt Tuck's still stuck on the outside. But it's looking good for Troxel as Rogel Dorn looking to go 2 in a row here in the Wawa Cup Series. He's right behind the back bumper of Ludovic Charette.
Dorn. Charette slips in front of Rogel Dorn. Rogel Dorn trying to get underneath for 2nd. That's the thing about this racetrack. There is absolutely no momentum on that outside lane. This is very much a one-groove racetrack by the very definition. So you really don't want to get stuck up there in the top lane, and that's why I didn't want to pick anybody up on the outside, because I knew they were going to lose a lot of spots initially. So it'll be interesting to see if like Matt Tuck, Logan Williams, Nicholas Samadeo can make their way back up through the field after falling back early.
Well, the good thing for Logan Williams, he started on that inside lane, so he's up to 6. Samadeo was able to get back to the inside, and he's trying to get around Eric Monaco here for position. That'll be for the 10th position right there. Good run for Dylan Matthews as well. Allier also with a great run. As a matter of fact, those top 6 in points, with the exception of Chase Buck, who didn't qualify too well there, all of them are inside the top 15 right now. So those guys definitely looking strong. We got 3 wide back in here. Zidell, Brian Webb, and Roy Ribbleton, who went flag to flag as we had a pass for the race lead. You know how it's done here. We miss it, we'll show it in the corner. Rogel Dorn to the race lead. And how about this team? Rogel Dorn had, pretty good start to the season, kind of fell back a little bit, got that race victory at Talladega, and now here he is leading at Dover. Great run for that number 1 team.
Yeah, Rogel Dorn has been impressive in the last couple of races, winning at Talladega, and now leading the pack at Dover, and he's trying to get a pretty good lead over Troxel, who is having pressure from Ludovic Charette as well.
And Ludovic Charette with a great run here in the 61, and this is a driver who has, like I said, I think outperformed this car. His teammate Elijah Gordon, a past Cup champion, still sits deep in the points. As a matter of fact, Elijah Gordon still 35th in the point standings, but Ludovic is up to 7th in the standings as a rookie driver for a team that I think may not be running as well as some of these others, but this 61 doing an excellent job here today, had a good run at Talladega. And here he is looking to move himself up in the point standings. Brad Stover, another one of those drivers, currently top 10 in points. And now, I said this on Wednesday, this race is going to be a race where the ratings are really going to come into effect and pretty much determine who gets the race victory. And I think some of the better drivers are definitely showing their strength. But how about this? Sam and Oskin You know the Sprint Series drivers do not have any driver ratings. Of course, the cars do have the driver, or the car ratings, I should say, the owner's ratings. Appalachian Motorsports, a very solid team with Logan Williams and Nicholas Samadillo, and Sam and Oskin here, currently running in the top 10. You got Dylan Matthews, Eric Monaco, Nicholas Samadillo rounding out the top 10, and Matt Tuck here to the inside of Echo Evans Ross and Chris Reynolds, and Tuck going to try to move his way through the field here. They're trying to get 2 for 1 and move up to the 12th position.
Ross is going to stay in front, but Chris Reynolds is going to fall back on that outside lane. Here comes the 71 LJ Semedo. That's one of Igor's drivers, already up inside the top 15, trying to get by Christian Master in the 43. He's done a good job making up spots early in the race, and that's what you got to do to put yourself in position to win this race once the pit cycle starts happening about lap 60. But it's a little early to start thinking about pit stops right now. It's lap 11, but that's probably going to be the changing point of the race, as Ludovic Charette made a pass on Thomas Troxel, is going to take over the second position, and that 62 seems to not have a good short-run car.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we got to do is just not focus on these guys, and then they make the passes. I was just about to say, Igor, I'm sure you're glad to see your driver, LJ Semedo, move up as well as he did. He started 27th on the inside lane, now up to 14th, and this is a home racetrack for LJ Semedo, and he's a driver who's never won before on the channel. I know he'd love to get his first career win, especially here at the Dover Motor Speedway. Echo Evans Ross moving up on Brady Mardi Gras. He's a driver who was up there in the points for quite a while, and has kind of fallen back a little bit. He's only 1 point ahead of the cutoff, but trying to get a solid run here today at Dover and get some more points. As Semedo gets 2 for 1 right there on Matt Tuck and Brady Mardi Gras. And Igor, I think this 71 might be one of the fastest cars on the racetrack.
Yeah, the 71 probably had a bad lap in qualifying. LJ Semedo maybe made a mistake, but looks like he has a pretty good setup for the race, and he's right now trying to pass Echo Evans Ross, moved up almost 15 positions already in the race, and hopefully he can move more, get into the top 10, and get into the top 10 in the standings as well.
He will see if that's the case, and an issue here as Laura Chung stopped on the racetrack. Do we have a caution for that? We do not. Aliera slowed down in the 5, and she lost a lot of momentum, avoiding that 91. Samadillo was able to get around her there. Eric Monaco as well, and now Echo Evans Ross with an opportunity on the 5 machine. But tough break there for the Everbell Motorsports driver of Laura Chung. She's a driver who came into Talladega pretty well in the points. She's 13 points behind the cutoff, and that is not going to help in her championship hopes here in the Wawa Cup Series. We're only going to have 8 races left to go until the cutoff after this one. But one guy who's definitely trying to find his way up in the standings, Rogel Dorn in the 1. Comes into this race 22nd in points, of course, won last week at Talladega. And while another win does not really give him an advantage in the wild card race, I mean, he'll give him more points, but those 2 wins don't make him have an advantage over someone who has 1 win who has more points ahead of him, if you know what I mean. I think I've explained that enough this season. A win still is going to garner a lot of points for this team, and Rogel Dorn could even make a run for the top 10 in points if he gets another win here today. But he's almost got 2 seconds now in Ludovic Charette. And how about these 2 rookie drivers, 1-2 here at Dover? Troxel there in 3rd, Brad Stover. And how about Logan Williams? He had a great run at Bristol, trying to rebound and get some good runs here in the Wawa Cup Series. Comes into this race 34th in points, and not at all what we expected of Logan Williams, especially driving for this team, but he's doing an excellent job right now there for Appalachian Motorsports.
Yeah, Appalachian Motorsports having a good race so far. 2 cars in the top 10. Samadillo's back in 8th, as Williams tries to find a way around Brad Stover, as it's kind of like a 4-car battle for second, but I guess Charette is kind of pulling away right now. Somebody who really is pulling away, though, is Rogel Dorn. He's got a 2-second lead now over everybody else. That car is on rails right now. It's going to be hard to catch him without a caution.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in this race if we do end up with a caution. We've been clean for 20 laps. A good clean race so far here at Dover. And this is one of those tracks you just never know what you're going to get. You could get a 4 or 5 caution race, or you can get a caution-free race, and you just never know what it's going to be. A lot like Las Vegas. Remember that race? We had quite a few cautions in that one, but we've had caution-free races there in the past as well. We're getting to the point, though, where these guys are going to have some issues getting around drivers ahead of them, as the tire wear is very significant. And one thing, too, how about Sam and Oskin there for Appalachian Motorsports? They actually have all 3 of their drivers who started this race inside the top 10 right now there for Caleb Rose. The only downside is Sam and Oskin is not gaining any points towards the Cup Owners Championship as he is a Sprint Series driver. Here comes Brad Stover to the inside of Thomas Troxel for 3rd. And Troxel, I don't know, they might need to work on that car on the pit stop to get it up to speed because he is not running as fast as we thought he would here. He's going to lose 2 positions right there as Logan Williams gets around him.
Yeah, Thomas Troxel was a good qualifying. Yeah, and now it looks like he's really struggling in this race. I don't know the reason why. Qualifying was so great for him, almost a chance to be ahead of 2nd place, and now struggling a lot. Here comes Simon Austin as well to try to overtake Troxel, as Brad Stover and Logan Williams also battle for 3rd place now.
Logan Williams has done an excellent job. He started in the 9th position. He's going for 3rd there on Brad Stover. We know these Appalachian Motorsports cars are fast, and it looks like each one of them is really quick. Sam Medeo, they're running in 8th. Of course, he's about 6.5 seconds off the race lead. I know a lot of these guys would love to see a caution. Troxel, I think, included, because obviously he's not going near as fast as I think he would have hoped. Dylan Matthews, Nicholas Sam Medeo are definitely 2 guys who can have a shot at the race victory. Same with Echo Evans-Ross. And I think LJ Semedo is definitely a guy to watch out for now, up to the 11th position. Seth Cole's moved up fairly well in this 82, and then Matt Tuck there in 13. So a lot of the guys who are up there in points running up front here today. Laura Chung back out there on the racetrack, but now 7 laps down in the 91. This is a racetrack where we do tend to see mechanical issues, so even though we may not see a caution for contact, we may see a mechanical issue that stops a car on the racetrack, and that could definitely create a yellow flag situation. But right now, looking pretty clean throughout the field. And we'll just have to see. We may get our 2nd caution-free race of the season. Our first one was at Auto Club. But we've had a caution in every race since, with the exception, of course, of COTA being a road course. We do not trigger the caution flags on those race courses. Laura Chung took tires, and she's going to get around Rogel Dorn and get one of her many laps back. But we'll have to see if that slows down the one machine and allows Charette to close in. Meanwhile, Sam at Oskin. I'm surprised here. These Appalachian Motorsports cars are really fast, and Caleb Rose knew what he was doing when setting these cars up for this race.
Appalachia looks very fast today. Logan Williams, Samet Oskin fighting for 3rd right now. Troxel trying to get by Brad Stover for 5th, and Dylan Matthews is joining this battle back there in 7th in the Ammo Racing Enterprises 47. We'll see if he can gain some spots as these cars are still trying to figure out who's going to end up in one spot. And here comes Samet Oskin trying to get onto the podium in that number 75. You know, you'd expect the Sprint Series drivers by this point to kind of be relegated to the back of the field and kind of struggle, but we still see Sprint Series drivers quite frequently running up inside the top 10 and even top 5 in Oskin's case, as Williams is going to lose 2 spots, maybe a 3rd if Troxel can get down there, and he will, and he might lose a 4th to Dylan Matthews if he stays up there. So not what Logan Williams wanted at all.
And that's the thing about getting stuck on the outside lane here at Dover. There's no grip up there. Like you said, a very one-groove racetrack here. But how about Oskin? And last week at Talladega, Jim Vincent finished 2nd as a Sprint Series driver. Of course, he's the points leader over there on the Wawa Sprint Series for your team, Igor, Titan Fury Racing. And I think some of these tracks, the car means a lot more than the driver. In Appalachian Motorsports, I know they're putting together great cars there in the ratings. And no surprise to see Oskin outperform what he's capable of here today. And he's closing in on Ladovic Charette now. But all these guys are 4 seconds behind our race leader of Rogel Dorn. Well, not anymore, because the caution is out here at Dover. And Echo Evans-Ross again. And we had a massive pileup down the backstretch. Chris Reynolds, Sam Adia was involved, Aliera in the 5, and I think Blaine Keys as well. They're racing back to the line. I'm wondering.
More on the backstretch that we didn't see.
Yeah.
The big one.
Braden Perez in the 23. This was a traditional Dover big one down the backstretch, and they call it the Monster Mile for a reason. And right there, taking out a couple of high-end contenders here. I know Rogel Dorn did not want to see that. Now this is going to get interesting because we got ourselves over 60 laps to go. These guys will still have to come down again if we go caution-free. But Rogel Dorn will lead us down the pit lane for our first cycle of pit stops here in the Mr. Goodbar 400. Aliera, Nicholas Amedeo, definitely the two biggest names getting caught up in that one. We'll see how these pit stops go. I'd imagine it's going to be a 4-tire stop for all these guys. We'll see who ends up winning the race off.
Yeah, and that's going to really cut it close. They're not going to be able to make it. They're going to be pitting right towards the end of the race, so that could really shake things up depending on when these cars come into the pit lane. Looks like Rokel Dorn will exit the pit lane first, and then Charette.
And Vargas is a lap down. I think he might have been caught up in the accident, so he is not going to be ahead of these guys in terms of position, but he may actually be ahead of them on the racetrack on the restart. Rokel Dorn wins the race off with Dovik Charette, Brad Stover, Thomas Troxel, Sam Ozkin, Logan Williams, Seth Cole, Dylan Matthews, LJ Semedo, and Eric Monaco. And then Brian Webb was also caught up in the accident there, so we're going to have a few lap cars sprinkled throughout here. And we're going to have a couple of lap cars in front of our race leaders. This could get a little interesting here at the Monster Mile. Not entirely sure what happened. Now, Echo Evans Ross actually is going to benefit slightly from a lot of these guys getting knocked out in this accident. I think her issue was completely separate from what happened down the backstretch. But Aliera, Nicholas Amedeo, Chris Reynolds, Blaine Keys, Braden Perez all out of the race. And I think Brian Webb in the 13 was also caught up, and she's going to be done. Echo Evans Ross is going to be done, so she's not going to be able to get back out there. Tough break for her. And then Brian Webb in the 13 also caught up. 52, Sebastian Kukalon has just retired as well. So this one's going to take out a lot of guys. Let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the first caution of the day here in the Mr. Goodbar 400 at Dover. And Nicholas Amedeo here with the issue, and this is such a hard track on these cars. We have so many reliability issues here, and this is one of the worst places to have an accident, or just have an issue, I should say, is the exit at turn 2, because these guys, there's a blind corner coming off the exit, and I think it's Chris Reynolds in the 18 that ends up smashing. Oh, actually, Crampton's going to sideswipe Amedeo, but right here, a massive shot there from Chris Reynolds in the Amedeo, and then the track is effectively blocked. Aliera nowhere to go. Drew Webb, how about that? The seas parted there for the 99, but Yera hard in the outside wall. Blaine Keys nowhere to go. Amedeo took a lot of hard hits here. Brian Webb with a piece of it there in the 13. Just not a good wreck at all for so many guys, and for Yera and Amedeo especially. And then how about the Williams teammates, Perez and Brian Webb, Kukalon then getting caught up, and I think this is where Chase Buck gets his damage in the 32, if he gets caught up in this one. I think he got a piece. No, he avoided it. Tough break there, though, for all those guys caught up, and they're all just trying to scramble here. This is where I think Chase Buck gets his damage. Yeah, right there. Trinity Ida running into him. And then Andrew Miller in the 88, getting sideswiped. Vargas nowhere to go here. That's the thing about this track. You know, we've seen so many wrecks here in the past. It starts in one place and it goes almost around the entire racetrack. And then Avery Alford in the 45 hits the 97 there as well. When you get one wreck, you get 3 wrecks. That's just the nature of this racetrack, and that's exactly what we saw right there to bring out this first caution of the day in the Mr. Goodbar 400.
Yeah, Amedeo, middle of turn 2 was the problem. LJ Semedo just passes by, but then comes Chris Reynolds and just completely hits Amedeo two wheels up in the air. And then Brian Webb just gets hit by Braden Perez, the 52 of Kukalon involved, and then Trinity involved with Andrew Miller, Christian Vargas, big incident here. And through the backstretch from turn 2 until turn 3 here in Dover, so yeah, tough luck for the guy.
And the game just crashed, so you're going to see a black screen for a second there, but we'll go ahead and get to the restart here in the Mr. Goodbar 400. Who's leading at this point? We do the replays after we do the race, so I can't remember. I think Rokel Dorn's still out front, and he is still out front because he won the race off the pit lane. I am right about that. Let's go ahead and see what happens Let's get to the restart. Let's see what happens on the restart here in the Mr. Goodbar 400 at Dover. We're back here at the Dover Motor Speedway after a big wreck down the backstretch, the Concrete Canyon. We took out a lot of guys right there. Rogel Dorn looking to go 2 in a row here in the Wawa Cup Series. He's led the most laps so far there for Full Frontal Motorsports. Ledovic Charette with a great run. He's running second. Thomas Troxel, good pit stop there. And hey, those pit stop ratings coming into effect as well. And Brennan, I think he may have done something there. Brad Stover is 5th, and then Samet Ozkin rounds out the top 5 with Logan Williams, Seth Cole, Dylan Matthews, LJ Semedo. Watch out for him there in 9th, and then Eric Monaco rounds out the top 10. We went over who was out of the race there. It's Kukawan, Yera, Samadillo, Reynolds, Echo Evans, Ross, Keys, and Braden Perez. And then Laura Chung currently last, 5 laps down, and Vargas on the tail end of the lead lap. So this restart's going to be interesting as Stover instantly moves to the inside of Troxel. And Rogel Dorn's going to have to be careful here as Stover comes for second on Ledovic Charette.
Yeah, Stover has been impressive in this race, especially in this restart, as Rogel Dorn and Red were stuck behind the Rogel Dorn still can make it past Christian Varda, but it looks like Stover will try everything in his power to overtake Rogel Dorn, but at the same time Rogel Dorn's managing power to overtake Christian Varda in the final lap and take that car out of his front.
And Rogel Dorn will finally, as you said, get around that 57, and Stover's going to get shuffled out of line right there. Troxel and Williams. How about Seth Cole here up to the 5th position, and LJ Semedo up to 6th, as Ledovic Charette kind of got shuffled out of line there with Dylan Matthews. We'll go back to the race lead, though, because I feel like this 48 of Brad Stover may be able to get to the 1 of Rogel Dorn, and Troxel definitely finding some speed again in that 62. And Troxel's a guy I got to watch out for, but same with Logan Williams. I mean, so many different drivers who I feel like can win this race, who have speed at this racetrack, and now is the time to make these passes as the tires are fresh and everyone's bunched up. And Stover, pretty clean racetrack ahead of him with the exception of that one machine, and he's trying to close in to get this race lead.
He is closing in on Rogel Dorn. This will be an interesting battle if he gets to the back bumper of Rogel Dorn. We'll see if he'll have anything for that one car, because he was flying on that restart. He instantly took care of Troxel and then got rid of Charette on the back straightaway, passing 2 cars in 1 lap on the restart. So that was a very good restart by Brad Stover. He's closing in on Rogel Dorn. We'll see if that car has anything for him. And behind them, we've got Troxel and Williams battling for 3rd. Something I've noticed about Troxel is he's running a little bit of a higher line than a lot of the other cars are. And that's helped him get speed off the corner, but if somebody gets to the inside of him, it doesn't help. As we saw Seth Cole lose a couple spots, LJ Semedo now inside the top 5, so good run for that 71 car.
Got so many different battles going on as Stover might have a nose, Williams might have a nose. We're going to focus with Williams here as he's got it on Troxel there for 3rd, and Williams will take that spot away. Brad Stover right there on the back bumper of Rogel Dorn. Now I'll say this is the 48 Lowe's machine. You know who won a lot of races in the 48 Lowe's machine here at Dover? Jimmy Johnson. That car does really well here at the Dover Motor Speedway. And Brad Stover is going to move to the inside of Rogel Dorn, at least try to do so, but Rogel's going to keep the outside to his advantage. We'll try to get this pass for the race lead if it in fact happens. I'd watch out for Logan Williams, and I'd watch out for LJ Semedo. I feel good about Semedo. You're in the booth, Igor. I think it's good luck. It's home racetrack. I don't know. How you feeling about your driver there?
I'm feeling pretty good. LJ Semedo moved up through the field already, started down in 27th place up to 5th already. Still a little bit back from the lead, but he has great pace this race, and he might get back to the lead, and here comes Stover.
And Brad Stover looking to take it away here from Rogel Dorn. Brad Stover, a driver who has had a solid season, not the best of runs at Talladega, but he has crept himself into that top 10 in points there for Trackhouse Racing. Of course, a long-time veteran. Hey, he used to drive for you, Igor, there at Titan Fury Racing, and now he's going to take the race away here on lap number 44 and in the 45 here at the Dover Motor Speedway. So good run there for Brad Stover, trying to move himself into the point standings, or up the point standings, I should say. Logan Williams here in 3rd. Great run for him. Troxel, Semedo, Ozkin, Seth Cole, Mardi Gras up here inside the top 10. Fisher G running well here for Harrisville Motorsports in 9th. And Matt Tuck, you know, Matt Tuck was one of the only top drivers in this series that had a good run at Talladega last week. Guys, Fisher G has an issue. He's got to get back down, but he's not going to be able to. And Crampton gets into him with Zidell, and there they go. Dylan Matthews, Travis Crampton, and the track is blocked up there, and a lot of guys caught up in that one.
That's like 10 or 15 cars junked on the backstretch right there, and it all
Daniel
started with
Paulus
Fisher G.
Jr., Avery Alford, Trinity Ida.
Exactly.
Oh, brother.
And that is something we've seen happen to the 37 all too many times this season.
Yeah, Fisher G and your guy, Chase Buck, came into this race third in points. Well, you know, a lot of these guys who are up there in the points have had major issues. Dylan Matthews was caught up in that one as well. And that's just the worst place for a wreck to happen coming off the exit. It's so hard to see it when you're coming off the exit that by the time all these guys got to it, they couldn't tell what was happening. They ran right into him. Travis Crampton, he did not need that. He's in that wild card race after his win from Las Vegas, but he's going to fall back in the points even more, and especially with Rogel Doran running well in this race, it's not good for him. Drew Webb, I think, got a piece of that one in the 99. Trey Wright was caught up. Fitzwater was caught up. Zidell was the initial cause of the accident. Elijah Gordon, Trinity Ida, Joey Hightower. Salmon Oskin is down the pit lane. Now, I don't think he was caught up in that. Andrew Miller was, though, in the 88 machine. He actually came down the top off on fuel, as the rest of these guys did not come down. Very, very interesting strategy here out of our race leaders. That could definitely get interesting as this race goes along, because these guys are right on the edge of being able to make it. They might be able to with the couple of cautions we've had. We'll have to see if that does, in fact, come into effect. But that wreck was caused by a mechanical issue in Fisher G. Let's go ahead and see what happened to bring up the second caution of the day here in the Mr. Goodbar 400. Miles is hungry here today. So the Monster Miles eating up quite a few guys here at the Dover Motor Speedway. Well, Fisher G in the 37. I think this is a tire issue. I think a lot of these issues, I think Sam Medio's issue on the first wreck was a tire issue. And, yeah, Travis Crampton, Justin Zidell. And, you know, he was so close to getting down to the apron. This could have easily been avoided, but Crampton loses it, and Zidell then has nowhere to go. And just like that first wreck off the exit of turn number 2, these guys just have nowhere to go, nowhere to really see what's going on. Jacob Walker kind of in the middle of this in the 33, then pushes up into Zidell, Crampton, and Dylan Matthews, and they all go sliding up into the outside wall. And this was a bigger wreck than the first one. Elijah Gordon right into the back of Zidell. Andrew Miller caught up in the 88. You may have heard me in the first wreck mention Chase Buck's damage. Well, this is where he really gained his damage. This is what I was thinking about when I said that earlier on. But Drew Webb getting caught up in that one. He's got a buckle on his hood. Zachary Fitzwater, Avery Alford, Christian Master, Brian Webb, Daniel Paulus Jr., Tanner Parton got spun, Hightower, Ida, Miller. Man, this is everyone. It's just the track was blocked from this accident, and it's just such a tough place to see when you're coming off the exit. And unfortunately, all these drivers getting caught up here on lap 46 here at Dover.
Here's Fisher G. You can see him having some sort of problem on that car right when I was about to say something good about him, too. And then Travis Crampton, for the second time this race, runs into the car, and that's going to eventually touch off the accident. Dylan Matthews, you see, spun around, and it would be easier to say who wasn't in it at this point, as everybody comes rushing into turn 2, no idea that there's a wreck happening. And it gets, I'd say, about 10 to 15 cars involved in it. Miles the Monster, I guess that was the main course for him. There's a lot of cars, and some cars that were high up in points, like the last wreck. Chase Buck involved in that, and even after that, they tried to wreck the 42 and the 37 again. So, pretty major wreck here, taking out some of the higher-up drivers in points.
Definitely an interesting one, no doubt about it. Most of the leaders stayed out here. Going to try to stretch it on fuel, and with the cautions, they might be able to do it, except Samit Oskin. Watch out for the 75 as this race goes along. He's going to have fresh tires on this restart, so that could get very interesting. We'll have to see if he can make it all the way to the end. Let's go ahead and get to the restart here. The Mr. Goodbar 400. Brad Stover leading this field here at the Dover Motor Speedway. We're back here in Dover, Delaware, and it's been a race of attrition, no doubt about it. Only 18 drivers left on the lead lap as we are going to restart right at halfway here in the Mr. Goodbar 400. It's not been a Mr. Goodbar type of race for a lot of guys. Daniel Paulus Jr., Joey Hightower, Avery Alford, Travis Crampton, Elijah Gordon, and Chase Buck all knocked out from that accident. We have a number of guys a lap down. Vargas and then Fisher G, I think, got back out there. I think he had a tire issue if he's still back out there. Then Andrew Miller, Trinity Ida, Dylan Matthews, Zachary Fitzwater, Of course, Justin Zeidel in the 51, and then the 13 there of Brian Webb at 2 laps down. It's Brad Stover, though, still leading this field. Rogel Dorn, Logan Williams, Thomas Troxel, and LJ Semedo, the top 5. We're going to be close on fuel and tires. We'll have to see what they can pull off, but we're back underway halfway to the Mr. Goodbar 400.
And a great jump from Stover. Rogel Dorn got a jump. Good jumper rating, but Logan Williams right on him. But Stover got away from him. Thomas Troxel also pressing Logan Williams. And you can't forget about LJ Semedo. And here comes Logan Williams to the inside of Rogel Dorn for second place.
And a good run there for Logan Williams in the 95, but this is good news for Brad Stover trying to pull away here from the rest of these guys. Thomas Troxel, I wouldn't count him out yet. I wouldn't count Matt Tuck out yet. I mean, both of these guys have avoided a lot going on as Vargas is coming down the pit lane, but he was already a lap down. Now, the good thing is, with so many guys out of the race, it does mean less of a likelihood for more wrecks and accidents to happen. Christian Masters down the pit lane, not entirely sure what happened to him, and then Jacob Walker in the 33 as well. This track's a little weird when it comes to these guys coming down the pit lane and pit strategy and all that, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a great place to see a race in person as well. You get to see the whole racetrack, and I love coming here. Ludovic Charette, don't count him out either. He's going to take 8th away as Semedo got shuffled out of line right there. And he fell back to the 9th position there, now battling with Tuck for that 8th position. And all these guys, Troxel, Rogel Dorn now down the 4th, Seth Cole there in the 5th position, and then Brady Mardi Gras. Don't count him out here for Ryan Durrani Incorporated. Really haven't seen much of this team this season, but I feel like Brady Mardi Gras may start getting some good runs here as this season goes along, and a race like this is good for that team. A lot of the other guys out of the race. Logan Williams, though, I have a good feeling about this guy. He may go to victory lane here today, trying to close in here on the 48 of Brad Stover, but Brennan, do you think these guys are going to be able to make it to the end? Because he had a couple of cautions there. Do you think they can stretch the fuel and make it to the end of this race?
There is one lead lap car that I know can make it to the end, and that's the 75 of Sam and Ozkin. Everybody else, I'm not sure. It's going to be very close. We saw Ozkin pit to top off with fuel under that last caution. Maybe he's banking on everybody else running out so that he can make it through so long as he survives whatever chaos may unfold in front of him. But it definitely, this is Appalachia's third car. One of their cars already taken out earlier this race. Maybe they're trying to experiment a little bit with the 75, try a bit of a different strategy, see if it works out here for Sam and Ozkin.
Well, another thing, too, he took tires under that caution, and that's going to give him some more speed compared to these guys. So he's slicing through the field right now, and I think he just moved up into, if I can do the math correctly here, I think the 11th position. So a good run there for Sam and Ozkin, regardless of the fact. Matt Tuck, Ludovic Charette there. We got a battle here. Fisher G also came down and took tires, obviously, because he had a tire go down. That's why he had the issue. But he's still out there trying to salvage something out of this race. He's 17th right now, even though he's a lap down. Only 16 guys on the lead lap in this race. Last driver on the lead lap, Tanner Parton in the 42, is right on that cutoff with LJ Semedo, who is ahead of him in this race. So that's a very fascinating run right there. And the Semedo moving to the inside of Seth Cole for the 7th position. Good run for him right there. Matt Tuck up to 6th now. The points leader quietly finding himself back up closer to the top 5. But Brad Stover still dominating this race now. He's got a 2-second lead on Logan Williams as Christian Master in between all of those guys. He had to come down the pit lane for an issue. Troxel in 3rd, Rogel Dorn is 4th, and then Ludovic Charette rounds out the top 5.
Yeah, great run for Charette right now. He ran up front, mostly second for the first stint, now down in 5th, but still great run for Charette, who's definitely been trying to catch the top 6 in the standing. Also, the guys at Rogel Dorn, who definitely want to get into the wild card spot. Thomas Troxel trying to regain the points lead. So, yeah, great run for most of these guys that are battling for championship. So we'll see what they'll be able to do in the last 40 laps in this race, and they'll definitely try to get as much points as possible.
And they're definitely in a good position to maximize their points here today, especially considering guys like Chase Buck, Nicholas Samadio, Aliera, Dylan Matthews have had issues. Echo Evans Ross, those are guys who came into this race top 10 in points who have had major issues here today. Now, for LJ Semedo, I think regardless, I think he's going to move himself back into the top 10 in points with this run, which is great, but it's running a little bit further up front earlier on. Got shuffled out of line, running 7th right now there. As 95 trying to close in here on Brad Stover. He's now back within 2 seconds of the 48 machine. Rogel got around Thomas Troxel right there. We keep on missing all these passes, you know, it just happens all the time, you know. These guys get spread out, and we focus on one guy, and then, you know, they do all their stuff further ahead. But Rogel with a great run, you know, he led a lot of laps early on in this race, lost the lead to Brad Stover on the first restart, but he's still in a podium position right now, and a great opportunity for him to really bounce up in the points. Thomas Troxel, great opportunity for him to really maintain top 2 position in the points. Matt Tuck trying to maintain that points lead and pull away in this title race. Of course, with the chase reset, he's not going to pull away too much and keep that going in the race 21. But the further ahead he is in the point standings in the regular season, the more bonus points he will get in the chase and the better opportunity he will have at a championship once the chase begins. And watch out for Matt Tuck and Grattan Autosport. They're going to have a very good opportunity at taking the title here in the Wawa Cup Series. Sam at Ozkin, though, may have a good opportunity at taking the race victory here because he's got those fresh tires now. He is 8th, and regardless, even if these guys can make it to the end, that 75 is going to have fresher tires this entire run. And wouldn't it be something on race 12 of the season if a Sprint Series driver went to victory lane here in the Wawa Cup Series? Sam Ozkin, though, an experienced veteran, even though he has no driver ratings, this team, I know they've been adjusting their ratings fairly well, and it's definitely showing there in that Sprint Series machine.
I am going to be absolutely fascinated by how this strategy plays out. If it comes to be that not everybody can make it to the end on fuel, as we're 2/3 of the way through the race. We are in the final stretch here. Brad Stover's got a 2-second lead over Logan Williams, and there's Semedo going to the inside of Ludovic Charette. That is for a top 5 spot, but Charette gets the outside working in turn number 2. And Semedo, who's been having a solid run here today, we've been pointing him out ever since the very start that he's been moving up through the field, and he's stayed up here once he got up there, and I think he's definitely looking good in terms of points right now as he tries to get by the 61 car.
And especially considering for Semedo that Tanner Barton, who's the guy he's tied with in the point standings, is about 10 positions below him there. Last driver on the lead lap. I think Semedo's definitely going to find himself back in the top 10 in points heading into Kansas next Friday night. Looking forward to that race. Great Wolf Lodge, 467 laps there under the lights. That's always a fun racetrack to go to. Christian Master does have fresh tires on that 43. He might get around this 48 of Brad Stover, and that might be what Logan Williams wants to see, but this is the guy we're watching for now. We're starting to get to a point where the tires are starting to even out a little bit, I feel like. And we'll have to see if Ozkin can, in fact, slice through these guys ahead of him. Someone's down the pit lane. I think that's Matt Tuck in the 54. So these guys are coming down now. That is interesting. We're going to have to see if Brad Stover comes down the pit lane here because that's very early. I don't know if something went wrong in the 54 Matt Tuck, but he's down the pit lane, and they are still on the pit lane.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, something's wrong. Man, these mile-long racetracks for Matt Tuck. I mean, he did finish runner-up at Rockingham, but remember Phoenix when he dominated that race and then have an engine go bad right before the last restart. Another issue there for Matt Tuck there in the 54. And he is not going to be happy about that one, and this may give way to Thomas Troxel taking the points lead back away from him.
Yeah, that's very good for Thomas Troxel. That's what he wanted to see. Semedo's to the inside of Charette for the 5th position. They've been battling for a few laps now, and there's Ozkin. He's going to pass Charette as well. He might get by Semedo as well. That car is flying on those fresh. But I do point something out back at the front. Brad Stover's lead is kind of going away, and that's because he got stuck behind the 97, and then there's more lap cars in front of him, Justin Zeidel, with no front or rear end. But he'll be able to get by the 51 car. And that's another thing that the rest of these leaders are going to have to deal with is these 2 slow cars. Maybe more slow cars up ahead, but yeah, there's been a lot of... oh yeah, there is another slow car up ahead, the 47 of Dylan Matthews. There's a whole group of them, so that's something that these guys are going to have to deal with in the near future, but Brad Stover taking them pretty well right now. He's got a bit of a cushion to work with. so that he can spend a little bit of time trying to get by those guys. But that 2-second lead is now a second and a half. So Logan Williams is closing in. Problem is, now he has to get by the 97.50.
He's going to get around Trinity Ida fairly well here. And would like to mention, Matt Tuck still on the pit lane. He's now 4 laps down. That is unbelievable right there for our points leader. One thing after another for that team. You know, this race does play out a lot like a short track race in ways. It's difficult to pass here, and we run into lap traffic, especially if we get a wreck. But it's still a speedway. It's still a very high-speed oval. And definitely going to be fascinating to see if the drivers who are better on the speedways can, in fact, find themselves up front. Rogaldorn with a great run in this race. Ozkin now behind Troxel. And Semedo got passed there by the 75. Bit of a jam up there off the exit at turn number 4. And Ozkin's going to go for 4th on Troxel. And we know Ozkin can make it on fuel because of when he pitted. So this is going to get very, very interesting. And Ozkin's also closing in on Stover as well, because Ozkin, it was 5 seconds not too long ago. Now it's 3.7 seconds. It's going to be interesting to see if Ozkin can, in fact, close in on Stover before the end of this race, if, in fact, this race stays green the whole way through. That's another major factor in how this whole thing will play out. Williams still 1.6 behind, and then Rogaldorn, they're in 3rd, but watch out for Sam and Ozkin. He's coming in the 75 machine, trying to give the Sprint Series drivers a race victory in the Cup Series.
Yeah, Simon Ozkin has been really impressive this race. Got the right strategy probably as well, pitting the last caution, and now it's trying everything to get as close as possible to the front, probably save some fuel as well to guarantee he will go to the end since guys like Stover, Dorn, and Williams are unsure to get to the end. They're also Stover and Williams, since they have much more worn out tires. They're also struggling more with that.
That got close there with Brian Webb.
Yeah, and looks like Williams and Stover struggling much more with this left traffic than Stover than Ozkin. So Ozkin's probably closing a lot faster than expected as well.
3.6 seconds now, Ozkin on Brad Stover, so I just don't know if he's going to close in. But the thing is, if Stover and Williams have to come down the pit lane for fuel, then Ozkin's got this race in the bag. And I think now would be the time for a caution especially if you're Logan Williams or Rogaldorn. Those two guys, I think, want a caution right now because they don't want that 75 to close in anymore, and they want to have an opportunity at this 48. And they want to make sure they can make it on fuel to the end of the race as well, and that's going to be a big factor. LJ Cimento there in 5th. Ladovic Charette is 6th. Troxel there. Pitcher G, of course, has his fresh tires, and he's moving through the field as well. Seth Cole is 8th. Drew Webb is 9th. How about your guys, Ziegler? Both top 10 right now. LJ Cimento 5th, and Drew Webb able to find himself inside the top 10. Then Eric Monaco has been quietly right around this 10th position all day, but he's avoided trouble and getting a pretty solid run out of it. But 3.3 seconds now there for Sam and Ozkin, and he's now on the back bumper of Rogaldorn for 3rd.
75 is pretty fast.
Yeah, running really well now, but like you mentioned, both my drivers really moved up to the field after being involved in the last rack, up to 9th now. I think it was 16th or 17th at the restart, now up to 9th already battling the like Seth Cole, so really impressive. But like that, Seth Cole and Ozkin, really getting the gap down to the leaders, and if he's lucky with the fuel, he will be able to win this race easily.
3.1 seconds now for Ozkin. Gotta watch out for Logan Williams maybe closing in on Stover here. I think that 95 is faster than the 48, and if these guys can make it, which here we go. Ozkin's going to take 3rd from Rogaldorn now. And Ozkin, with that interesting strategy call, they were the only ones to come down under the 2nd caution. They got the fresh tires, which is how Ozkin's been able to slice through this field the way he has. And Brady Mardi Gras is down the pit lane in the 73. Not sure if that's a scheduled stop or not. He's now going to go a lap down, and a tough break there for Mardi Gras and Ryan Durrani Incorporated. This is not quite the window for these guys to come down. It's still been under 60 laps for these leaders, so we're just going to have to see if they can, in fact, stretch it the whole way through. But I don't know if it's even going to come down to that. Ozkin now 2.6 seconds on Williams and Stover here. Brad Stover has led the most laps in this race. He's going to get the bonus point towards the championship for that. And the caution! Eric Monaco in the 41. And he stopped down the backstretch, and he was having a top 10 run in this race. And unfortunately for him, it's not going to go his way. And that is unfortunate for Samet Ozkin, because that 75 probably would have won this race if it stayed green.
I mean, he's still got a chance. He's going to have to make some moves on the restart, but he definitely still has a chance. That changes everything. I'm honestly kind of disappointed. I was really looking forward to that strategy.
Well, we still are going to have some strategy here, because they will definitely come down this time for tires, and obviously they'll top off on fuel to make sure they can make it to the end of the race, but there's no way these guys are going to stay out with how worn out their tires are. Oh man, are they going to try to stretch it?
They are.
They're going to try to stretch it here. This is interesting. No one wants to duck down. You know, if I'm somebody in the back, go ahead, come down the pit lane. You're going to be going so much faster than these guys. Andrew Miller in that 88's a lap down, so he's not going to gain anything from that. That's interesting. Ozkin now still in a good position here. It's going to be under 10 laps to go for the restart. Brad Stover, Logan Williams, they're going to try to stretch it. And I think with this third caution, they're going to be good on fuel. My concern is the tire wear. I guess none of these guys want to have any issues on the pit lane. 13 guys on the lead lap now. I mean, it's amazing how many guys have been knocked out of this race, have had issues. It's a fascinating event going on here. Monaco going to get back out there in the 41, but he's going to be a lap down now. This is going to get interesting. We'll quickly see what happened to Eric Monaco, and then we're going to get to the restart here in the Mr. Goodbar 400. It's going to be under 10 laps to go. Will Brad Stover pull it off, or will Ozkin get it for the Sprint Series drivers? We're just going to find out here in a few minutes. But first, let's see what happened to bring out the third caution of the day here in the Mr. Goodbar 400 from the Dover Motors Speedway. Well, Eric Monaco in the 41, you know, while this track does eat up the tires quite a bit, not all these issues may be tires. We could end up with fuel leaks, suspension issues on these cars. So many different things can happen to these guys on this racetrack, and especially this racetrack. And Eric Monaco on the 41 stopping on the racing surface, and that was what triggered the yellow flag. Good thing is, nobody got caught up in a wreck here. We didn't knock anybody else except Monaco out of the race. But the interesting thing here is no one came down the pit lane. This may give the advantage to Ozkin, but Stover may be able to hold them off. We'll just have to see. Let's get to the last restart of the day. Hopefully the last restart of the day. Here in the Mr. Goodbar 400 from the Dover Motor Speedway. Brad Stover leading this field. Going to be 9 laps to go on the restart. We're going to have 9 laps to go on the restart here at the Dover Motor Speedway. What a race this has been. This is the first race of the year that it's been like this, where we've had this level of attrition, but yeah, like I said, Miles the Monster, he woke up hungry this morning, no doubt about it. Brad Stover, though, trying to get his first win of the season. Won not that long ago in the Haas IndyCar Series at Lime Rock Park, so he's on a bit of a roll here. Logan Williams, 34th in points coming into this race, running second. But the guy to watch out for, Sam and Ozkin, because none of these guys came down the pit lane. Ozkin, he can go all out. He's got the fresher tires, even though they're still quite warm. Watch out for the Sprint Series driver to get the win here at Dover. Rogel Dorn is 4th, and LJ Semedo is 5th. Here we go, and not a good start for Stover. Williams going to try to peek to the inside. No advantage for anybody there, as Fitzwater really off the pace there. Somebody way off the pace there midway through the field, as we got some guys multiple laps down. But Stover holding on to the race lead for now. Williams, Ozkin, and Dorn all in a line. Semedo and Charette. And then Seth Cole and Thomas Troxel back in here for position. That is for 7th. That's the next battle. But one of these top 6 is going to get it. Ozkin for 2nd on Logan Williams.
He passes his teammate for 2nd place, and now he's got 1 car to try and get in 8 laps. And that's Brad Stover in the 48, who's led, I don't know, the last 50 or so laps at least. But Ozkin's got the fresher tires. He's trying to bait him high a little bit there. He's going to get the run down the front straightaway. Is he going to dive into one? Yes, he is.
He's got it. Sam and Ozkin to the race lead, or trying to get to the race lead. Stover on the outside lane trying to hang on to it. And they're side by side for the top position, but not for long. Sam and Ozkin for Appalachia Motorsports, Sprint Series driver, and for 2nd, Logan Williams to the inside of Brad Stover. Ozkin way up high. Watch out for Williams to maybe close in. I don't know how much of an advantage Ozkin has on the tires at this point. They've all been on the tires for a long time. But Ozkin, definitely a good run off the corner right there. And with 6 laps to go, it's looking good for the Sprint Series driver to pull it off in the Cup Series.
He's got his teammate back there in second place, Appalachia 1-2. Caleb Rose has got to be happy about that. And Rogel Dorn catching up to Brad Stover, maybe trying to capitalize on that, maybe steal third away.
It's going to be interesting to see if Rogel Dorn can get into the podium positions, but I don't think anyone's going to catch up to Sam and Ozkin here. And I think this, oh man, it's interesting. That last caution, they could have come down the pit lane and pit for tires, but no one did, and they're going to lose the race because of that. Still going to be a great point save for Logan Williams and Brad Stover. Brad Stover could have used a win in terms of the wild card race because he's still kind of teetering on the edge there. Came into this race only 4 points ahead of the cutoff. But regardless of the fact, still a good run for him. But how about this? Sam and Ozkin, the Sprint Series driver, pulling it off here. Or, it's not over yet. We've seen enough mechanical issues here today. It could happen to anybody at any time. And we got 3 laps to go, but assuming Ozkin can in fact pull this off, that's a testament to how good of a team Appalachian Motorsports is, especially here at this racetrack. They're 1-2. The only downside for Caleb is he's not going to get any owner's points for this win because Ozkin is a Sprint Series driver. He only gets the points for the full-time guys. But Logan Williams is second, so it's not too bad in terms of the points for those guys. 2 laps to go here for Sam and Ozkin.
Yeah, Sam Ozkin with a good gap, always opening up to his teammate Williams, and Sam Ozkin is on his way to win this race. Logan Williams also to get a great result for his team. Caleb Rose is definitely happy not only with the win, but also with the owner's point. This is definitely going to move up in the standings as well. Brad Stover could have been in the last caution, but at the same time, conservative strategy. I totally understand the team's call. And Sam Ozkin on the final lap.
And how about this? The 12th race of the season, and a Sprint Series driver advancing on from the Sprint Series race is going to pull strategy off at Dover to get the race victory in the Wawa Cup Series. Sam Ozkin, 4th career Cup win, but he gets it as a Sprint Series driver in the Mr. Goodbar 400. Logan Williams 2nd, Brad Stover in 3rd, Rogel Dorn backing up his win last week with a 4th place finish, and then LJ Semedo rounding out the top 5. Ladovic Charette, Drew Webb, Seth Cole, Roy Ribbleton. How about the other Sprint Series driver in the top 10? And then Thomas Troxel started on pole, finished 10th. Trey Wright, Tanner Parton, and Roberto Crown Jr. round out all the drivers finishing on the lead lap here at Dover. Hey, no one had to come down the pit lane near the end there, which was good. I'm glad everyone was able to make the end of the race. But Ozkin, how about that strategy call on that pit box there for Appalachian Motorsports? And right there, that's that strategy rating in the pit crew for the owners. And like I said, Ozkin has no driver ratings. The cars really determine who went to victory lane here today, I feel like. Ozkin, and really it's that pit crew pulling that strategy. I mean, Ozkin was not going to win this race if they did not come down the pit lane there in that second caution. They were the only one to do it, and they go to victory lane. How about that? Thing is, though, Ozkin's a veteran driver. He's been around. He's won races in the Cup Series before, so not surprised to see Ozkin do well in that regard. But considering a lot of these other guys that he beat have driver ratings as well, that's a bit of a surprise, no doubt about it. But take a look at the rest of the results, and it was a mess back there. Everyone from Daniel Paulus Jr. on down knocked out. We really only had 2 major accidents, but a lot of drivers getting knocked out, and it's going to shake up the points once again. But, Brennan, what a race this was here at Dover, and how about the Sprint Series driver pulling it off?
That's quite an upset, that's for sure. I mean, if any Sprint Series driver was going to do it, one of the ones I would have guessed was Sam Ozkin, but just knowing his prior experience in this series. But still, Appalachia Motorsports going for the strategy, and it works out for them. And even if they didn't try, they would have won anyway because Logan Williams finished 2nd. That would have been that was a great race for Appalachia Motorsports. Only downside was Nicholas Samadillo getting caught up in that accident. I think it was the first one, but other than that, 1-2 for that team and an upset win for Sam Ozkin. definitely did not expect to see a Sprint Series driver win in this race, but hey, you never know. Strange things can happen in NR sometimes.
Yeah, and speaking of the points here, your two guys, Igor, did really well. LJ Cemento, Drew Webb, 5th and 7th. That's going to push both of them inside the top 10, considering what happened here today. So, moving forward, how do you think this whole championship battle is going to play out? I mean, Matt Tuck, the points leader, had an issue, finished 27th. No one can seem to get on a consistent run here and really just pull out to that points lead. So, how do you think it's all going to shake out here after these last 8 races before the cutoff?
Gotta hope everything works out, especially for my team. Cemento and Webb started deep in the field in this race, finished in the top 10, both of them. And honestly, by how crazy this championship has been until now, we just gotta hope we stay out of trouble and get some good points finishes in that. I say it's not only for my team, for everybody trying to get up the field in this battle, because this chase is going to get really tough, especially around the cutoff line in the next couple of races.
It's going to be interesting to see how it ends up all going down. And our next race is another speedway, but a more traditional racetrack, 1.5 miles at the Kansas Speedway. Great Wolf Lodge 400 next Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. A little bit of a late night race, but definitely looking forward to that. And also, I should mention this, and especially to you, Igor, because you've been a driver in this race for a past couple of times. Indianapolis 250 only sign-up is going to be next Friday night as well. Still got to paint some of the cards at the time of us recording this, but we'll have all that ready. So I'll make a separate video for that so you guys know what's going up. But hey, we're a month away from the Indianapolis 250 and of course the Indianapolis 500, and we could not be any more excited for that over there in the Haas IndyCar Series. And speaking of which, we'll have an IndyCar Series race on Tuesday night from the Kansas Speedway. So whole boatload of races next week from Kansas. But either way, a huge congratulations to Salmon Ozkin on getting his 4th career win in the Cup Series. And his first this year, but doing it as a Sprint Series driver. And hey, this could be you. We do Sprint Series signups every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you make it into the Cup race, you could end up with Ozkin. You end up on a good enough team where they pull strategy like that, you could go to victory lane, and that's exactly what happened here. I'm surprised it happened this late, race 12, but Sam and Ozkin pulling it off there for Appalachian Motorsports and Caleb Rose. Huge thanks to Igor Barretto and Brendan Williamson for joining me here tonight for this race here from the Dover Motor Speedway. We'll take a look at the results one more time for you guys there, and I see that guys like Sam Medeo, Evans, Ross, they were up there in the points. They're going to fall back even more after this one. It's going to get interesting in the championship standings. You guys are going to see that right now here from the Dover Motor Speedway. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week from the Kansas Speedway. And congratulations once again to Sam and Ozkin for grabbing the race victory here in the Mr. Goodbar 400. Here are the points standings after 12 races in the Wawa Cup Series. And on behalf of Igor Barretto and Brendan Wilmington, I will see you guys later.